Oakland A's UK. Oakland A's UK. The Oakland A's UK. The Oakland A's UK. Hello and welcome to Oakland A's UK. I'm Matt Smith, and as you can see, we're marching into March with a new A's UK flag, which I've just received, so I'll be working out where I need to put it up so I can hang it up as a YouTube background fairly soon enough. We're a week into spring training, it's the 1st of March, so we've had a week of spring training games. We're starting to see what the Oakland A roster and the Japan roster is going to look like, so let's take a look at all of the news. So we'll start with the big MLB news, which happened on Thursday when it was finally announced that Bryce Harper would not be signing with the Oakland A's. Not that we thought he would do. So he signed a 13-year, $330 million contract with the Phillies, an absolutely huge amount of money, a huge commitment by the Phillies, and a deal so big that it's going to make news here in the UK. So that's good news for MLB, I think. No real kind of impact on the A's. Right at the start of the off-season, I did wonder if the Astros might get involved with the Harper sweepstakes, and obviously you've always got the Yankees lurking too, but he stayed in the National League. Bad luck to the Giants, he didn't sign with you. And you have to say that when you look at the National League East, that looks a pretty tasty division for 2019. The A's won't play the Phillies because the AL West is lined up with the National League Central this year in interleague play, but yeah, definitely a division to look out for outside of the AL West. So back to the A's, and we all know that spring training results really don't matter, but you don't want to be getting beat all the time, so it was good to see the A's get a win against the Cubs on Thursday. So the A's are currently 2-5 as I record this video. More importantly, good to see Brett Anderson have a kind of tidy start for his first spring training game of 2019. Now that leaves Marco Estrada as the one key starting pitcher who's yet to make his debut in Cactus League this year. He has been getting work in the minor leagues, and it doesn't look too far off that he'll be playing in a spring training game, so that will be good to see. When you look at how the rotation is shaping up, news coming out of A's camp is that Daniel Mengden probably is going to get that fourth starter role, so that kind of would leave one position left. At the minute, that would seem to be between Frankie Montas and Chris Bassett, and Montas is out of minor league options, so that may just give him the edge so far. But we'll kind of see, really. I mean, certainly the A's would want to put Montas on the roster somewhere. With Chris Bassett, he recently did a really good interview with Susan Slosser on her Rays Plus podcast, which, if you haven't seen, do check that out. And I really liked the way he came across in that interview. He was very confident in his own ability, frustrated with the role he played last year in terms of being a guy who kind of have arm will travel, being shuttled between AAA and the major leagues. But as he put it, the one thing is it showed that the A's have trust in him, that he can do that role. And I'm sure we will be seeing Bassett at times this season. He pitched against the Cubs on Thursday too, and although he gave up a couple of runs, by all accounts he did pitch pretty well and showed some good stuff. So yeah, we'll see Bassett this year, even if he doesn't make the opening day roster. The main injury news so far has come with Nick Martini, who had a collision in the outfield a few games ago, and it's been announced that he'll be out with a knee injury for a couple of weeks. That's a real blow for him, a real shame, because he got a chance with the A's last year, and I think he took it. He did show he can play at the major league level, so it's a real shame for him that it's going to impact his ability to make the roster. Having said that, when you started looking at how the roster was shaping up, it did look like free agent acquisition Robbie Grossman was kind of almost certain to make the roster. So when Bob Melvin then confirmed, as we talked about in previous videos, the A's potentially going with an 8-man bullpen, that kind of already showed Nick Martini as the odd man out. If you've got an 8-man bullpen, that usually means you've only got 3 bench positions left. And when you've got Chad Pinder, Mark Canha, who are good players who can play infield and outfield, you've then got your backup catcher. Well, there's your 3 bench positions gone. So yeah, it looked like Martini was probably going to be a stretch to make the opening day roster, but it is a blow. It takes away his opportunity to try and earn a spot. Having said that, as we looked at with Chris Bassett, it's the way the A's operate. It's not just that they may need to dip down into the minor leagues. They will do. They kind of plan that way to have the depth so that they can bring guys in and out when they need to. So I'm sure, despite this early blow for Martini, He is going to be up with the A's a fair bit in 2019 and keep contributing the way we saw he did in 2018. The other main position player news we've had so far is that Chris Herrmann not only should almost certainly make the roster, but Bob Melvin sees Herrmann as being the guy who's going to get quite a bit of playing time behind the plate. Now that obviously then plays into what the backup catcher role is going to be, and it's two people for one spot, isn't it, with Josh Phegley and Nick Hundley being the two people competing for that role. Now, the way you have to look at it is that whichever one kind of doesn't get the opening day assignment or the Japan assignment, the other one is likely to leave the club, you would suspect. Nick Hundley, if he doesn't make the opening day roster, can kind of void his contract and leave as a free agent, whereas Josh Phegley is out of minor league options. So if there isn't a place for him on a 25-man roster, you suspect he's going to have to look for another club. And Phegley has already kind of talked about that when the Herrmann ideas were made public. Phegley did kind of point out that, he's been in the major leagues for a while now and doesn't really want a backup role, only playing occasionally. So we'll see how it plays out. I suspect with Sean Murphy coming along in time, the A's will probably go with Herrmann and then Nick Hundley as a good experienced backstop for 1 year. And Josh Phegley, unfortunately, that would be the end of his 5 or plus years time with the club, which would be a shame. But I do think he's potentially got a kind of a good chance to be a decent, maybe not an everyday starting catcher, I don't think, but certainly someone who plays a bit more than he is currently with the A's, and he'll probably catch on with another major league team if indeed he does leave the club at some point. So where does that leave us with the potential opening day roster? Well, I think if we're going to say Hundley gets the backup catcher role, that's pretty much the position players done and dusted, I would say. Not too many surprises now that Martini isn't kind of in the mix for the outfield role. We then have the rotation, so if we're saying it's Fiers, Estrada, Anderson, Mengden, and one of Muntas or Bassett probably for the rotation, that's kind of almost settled. And then when you look at the main bullpen arms, again, that looks fairly settled too. Perhaps the main thing will be, is Jerry Blevins going to make the roster and also be a second lefty with Ryan Buchter, or will that kind of switch and kind of change over the season? But we'll wait and see. The one thing obviously to add to all of this is that although we always look ahead to opening day, we have the Japan series coming up. And the interesting point for that would be that we have a 28-man roster. So we'll see how that plays out in terms of how they will use those 3 extra spots. Usually you would look at pitching, especially because it's still kind of in spring training mode and you don't want to be putting too many innings on the arms of the pitchers. So perhaps we'll see Ryan Dahl and JB Wendelking making the team for that Japan series, and then maybe an additional position player, probably Franklin Barreto, I would say, because he can play infield, potentially play outfield, although his early forays in outfield in spring training so far this season have had somewhat mixed reviews. That's where we've got to this point, and to be honest, it's more a case of no news is good news, because this time of year the main news is injuries. And other than the Nick Martini one, we've been fairly lucky so far, and let's hope it stays that way. Matt Chapman made his Cactus League debut this week, and it doesn't look like Chris Davis will be too far behind, so hopefully those two guys will be fine for Japan, as the A's have always said they will be. Now, when we talk about that, so if you look at the A's spring training schedule, the A's have got the Rockies on Friday night, Cleveland on Saturday night, and then the Angels again on Sunday before a day off on Monday. And after that, the A's only have 10 spring training games left. And 2 of those are a split squad games on, I think it's Sunday the 10th, before they then head off to Japan. So it's quite a short period for this A's spring training this year. Now, Dom and Hannah from A's UK will be going out to Japan with the A's, as will Joey, Baseball Brit. So I hope to catch up with 1 or 2 of them over the next 2 weeks to do a quick video seeing how they're looking forward to the trip. And when you look at it, we're only 3 weeks away, in fact less than 3 weeks away from the A's games in Japan against the Mariners. So that's a happy note to end this video on, I'm sure you'll agree. So there we go, that's the A's news so far. Don't forget to follow us at Oakland A UK on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe here to the A's UK YouTube channel. I'm Matt Smith, thanks a lot for watching. Yeah, we're the Oakland A.